Hello, I'm Deb, and I would like to welcome you to our second of 3 videos on age-appropriate strategies to help you convey to the young children in your life the ways in which pain and fatigue impact you. If you haven't come across spoon theory, then Google it. I won't go into details here except to summarise the concept so that you have an understanding of it. It is essentially a concrete or visual way of helping people understand the energy limitations of those with invisible illnesses and the need to think very carefully about the way energy is allocated. So here is the way I would use it. So imagine I have some spoons, just ordinary teaspoons or dessert spoons, whatever you have at hand, and they're placed on the surface between you and the child. And so in this example, the child might have 12 spoons and you might have 6. It can be any number. So this is a slight variation of mine. I would fill each spoon with rice. And I like to use something in the spoon because it can be tipped out to convey that energy is being used. This is not essential, and it was not part of the original spoon theory, but it makes it very concrete. I would then take turns with the child to go through the day so far, and each time an activity is mentioned, a spoon is discarded and the rice is tipped out. So it becomes a bit of a game. What did you do today? Well, I got out of bed, I got dressed, 1 spoon. I had breakfast, 1 spoon. So you take turns with this and talk to them as you go about how some things like shopping or for them playing certain games might take 2 spoons because of the length of time involved and the energy required. It might be greater than with some other activities. So let's say in our spoon game, we're partway through the afternoon and the child still has 5 spoons left and I have only 1. I tell them that I still have several things I need to do. And I list these, but I'm going to have to make a decision because I've only got 1 spoon left, so I can only choose one of those things. With a visual of the spoons, this can help convey the concept of limited energy and the consideration about the energy requirement of each activity, as well as decisions about how many activities can be managed. Now, after going through this, you might like to try another way of using spoon theory. And this would only be used after the concept is understood by the child. And it would be best used, I think, with children, say, in that 7-11 developmental age bracket. So it requires them to use imagination about other people's experiences. So we're now going to try this again, but both of us will only have 6 spoons. So this time we both have very limited energy and need to think very carefully about how we're going to use it. So I'd ask them to try and decide how they will plan their energy use for a whole day and get them to go through the process of naming the activity and discarding the spoon so that while this aspect is a symbolic act, the concept becomes concrete. Trying to convey to someone who has not had an invisible illness what life is like for those who do have an invisible illness is a bit like trying to convey an abstract idea. There's not a visual manifestation, not an obvious cause and effect with pathophysiology and symptoms. Whenever we try to convey to others how we feel, for them to empathise, it requires a degree of imagination on their part. If they've had a similar experience, then it can be easier to understand. So as discussed in the first video where I touched on Piaget's learning theory, and if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it because it will give you a better understanding of what I'm talking about in this video and the next. As I discussed, children under the age of 7 are developmentally egocentric and struggle to understand the perspective of others. However, they are adept at symbolism and can project the properties of one object onto another. So a spoon representing energy, especially if the spoon is heaped with rice, is something they can understand. And if the rice is tipped from the spoon, it's a nice visual of the way energy is being used. Up to about the age of 11, children are still very concrete in their thinking and not yet able to grasp abstract concepts. And as I mentioned, an invisible illness is a pretty abstract concept for those not experiencing it. So spoon theory is a great way to convey meaning, and not only with children. So I'm sure you all have some great ideas and we would love to hear them. So as usual, please comment below and share your thoughts and ideas. Thank you.